Shavua Tov, Guten Woch. This is a very special Motzi Shabbos. We're beginning the Yud Aleph, the 11th day of Shvat, and this Shabbos, this Shabbat was Yud Shvat, the 10th of Shvat, which is when the Frierdiker Rebbe, the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, we always say the Rebbe is still here, but he seemed to no longer be here before our eyes, and a year later the Rebbe would accept his Nesius, his title as Rebbe, in Yud Aleph Shvat, the 11th of Shvat, and he did so in Farbrengen in 770, where he recited a famous Maimon, a famous Hasidic speech. Basilagani Ahoisikala. Basilagani means I came to my garden. Is from a Kabbalistic interpretation of a verse in Shir HaShirim, in the Song of Solomon, in which I come to the garden, and there is a meaning of what does coming to the garden mean. Kabbalah, according to the Kabbalistic meaning, is brought in Hasidus. It's when has the Shechina, the divine presence, been up in heavens and descended through the generations all the way down to the earth. When at the time of Avraham Avinu, at the time of Moshe Rabbeinu, the Shechina has descended all the way down to the earth, and then through transgressions or different things that happen in this world, the Shechina went again up to heaven, and we were no longer directly in touch with it. And then the Rebbe brings a concept called Shivim Chavivim, all the seventh are dear into God. The Rebbe being the seventh generation of the Chabad Rebbes, and therefore it's the Rebbe's task to bring the Shechina, the divine presence, all the way down to this earth, Lemata Me'asarat Tefachim, below the last 10 handbreadths, until we'll have the Shechina physically down here with us, and we'll encounter the ultimate revelation, the revelation of Mashiach, and see and experience the Geula, the redemption. This is something that the Rebbe mentions belongs to us. The beginning of it is actually 9 generations ago with the Baal Shem Tov, and that's when the Baal Shem Tov met Mashiach and asked him, what do you need to come, how long will we wait for you? And so, the story for tonight, Shivchei haBaal Shem Tov, the story of the Shivchei Best, the praises of Baal Shem Tov. I will tell the first part of story number 16. It's kind of long, and it has 3 different parts. I have been advised to make a small correction about mistakes from the past. I once mentioned that the Baal Shem Tov's brother-in-law was Eliyahu of Kitov. This is a mistake. I immediately realized my mistake. His brother-in-law is Gershom of Kitov, so that's relevant to this story tonight. Also, in last week's story, I mentioned about the nails of Rabbi Alexander Shuchat, but there was a Kabbalistic meaning also that there is a name of Hashem written in the nails of the fingers. So which part of the nail was affected? This part of Hashem's name was affected, whatever. This has to do with a Kabbalistic concept that is not even presented in the story, it's just mentioned. All right. Story number 16 has to do with something that happened at the beginning of the revelation of the Baal Shem Tov as a Baal Shem. I will now tell you a story, says the author, the compiler of this version of the Shivchei Best. I will now tell the story of the greatness that I heard of my father-in-law, the father-in-law of the writer, Rabbi Alexander Shuchat. How was the something that happened right after the revelation, this Galus of the Baal Shem Tov, or how was this Galus of Baal Shem Tov, the revelation. At the time, the Baal Shem Tov was sitting, meaning living, dwelling in a small town, and he and his wife had a shainik, meaning a place where he sold alcoholic beverages, a tavern. That was the parnasa they had made at the time. And he would bring his wife from the wine. Yeah, in a sort of burnt wine, I guess is like the bottom sediments of the wine that could not be sold. He would bring it home. There was a time when the Baal Shem Tov would go into his isbodedus, into his solitary meditation for the entire week, beyond a river called Prut. It's not the Prat in the Euphrates, it's Prut, the name of a river in Podolia, the Ukraine. And he had a place inside of a mountain that, like a stony house, where he would go and spend there the entire week. Once a week he would come back for Shabbos and spend Shabbos with his wife. This is the time before the revelation, where he was doing his lonely meditations. And this is something that went on for a few years. And at the time, Rab Gershon of Kitov, actually they call it here Kutov with a Vav, thought that the Baal Shem Tov was a ignoramus and a commoner, did not think much of him. He was actually wishing for his sister to divorce him, to leave him. Why should she, coming from such an important family, be with such a low person? And the Baal Shem Tov would avoid revealing who he is. His greatness would let him think that. But he would not reveal to anyone who he was. Once the Baal Shem Tov came to the city of Kitov, and there was a woman who had lost her mind, a woman who had fallen into madness. So when the Baal Shem Tov came to the city, Rav Gershon asked from the great pious Chosid, the head of the Besdin of the Kehillah of Kitov, Rav Chosid, Mara Gadol. This is the great light, the great luminary, our teacher, Rav Moshe. And here it tells a story that Rav Moshe was one of the tzaddikim mistarim. He was a great tzaddik. He eventually would become one of the closest Hasidim of the Baal Shem Tov. So, by the time this happened, Rav Moshe already knew about the Baal Shem Tov, and he asked him to go and speak to the woman, Divrei Musar, words of Musar. Maybe he would somehow influence her. And he and Rav Gershon, Rav Moshe, Rav Gershon, and the Baal Shem Tov went to that woman, and they came to the place where the woman was, and then Rav Moshe said to the Baal Shem Tov, Baruch haba Kadosh B'Tahor. Welcome, holy and pure person, a pure man, he told the Baal Shem Tov. he would treat everybody according to their greatness. So he was basically treating the Baal Shem Tov already according to as a revealed tzaddik. The Baal Shem Tov came, and when the woman saw him, the woman who had lost her mind, said, Baruch haBaal, Rabbi Israel. Welcome, Rabbi Israel. The Baal Shem Tov was still a young man, and she said to him, do you think I am afraid of you? No. I know you have been warned from Shemayim, from the heavens, that you are not to engage into mentioning the holy names of God until you reach the age of 36. At the time, the people of the town of Kitov didn't yet know about the Baal Shem Tov, whatever, and they didn't understand what was going on. Apparently this was public, and the woman says this, and it's the spirit in the woman saying this. And they ask her, what are you saying? The words that were coming out of her mouth. So the Baal Shem Tov came and said to her, not that the others could hear, if you don't keep quiet, boy, I'm gonna go to the another or to some Besdin where I can mention all these holy names, and I will take you out of this woman. So the spirit in that woman asked for mercy from the Baal Shem Tov, and he said, I will keep quiet. So it says the Hasidim, I don't know if it's the followers of Baal Shem Tov, it means, or the mercies of that were around this woman, this spirit would try to convince the spirit to come out of this woman. The Baal Shem Tov asked them not to come close because this spirit may be dangerous. And then the Baal Shem Tov spoke to the spirit in the woman, and he said, I will take you out, and I will ask you that you leave this woman in good terms, that I won't kick you out in a bad way. I will dedicate time of learning, holy learning, for your sake, so you will be able to go up to Shemayim, won't be having to hunt, to be attaching yourself to the spirits or the bodies of the living. And the Baal Shem Tov asked the spirit, calling him by his name, it's the spirit of a man, and said, you cannot be revealed, you cannot reveal me in front of the public, in front of the many people. So this whole story was witnessed by the Sofer, by the man we spoke about last week, Rabbi Alexander Shuchat. So only the pious men of the Kehillah of Kitov would dedicate time to learn and to elevate his soul, so he would be able to go back to heaven and not have to be hunting people anymore. So the spirit agreed to the Baal Shem Tov's deal, and he left the woman alone. he left her in good terms, would no longer hunt her. I will stop there. There is a second part to the story, but it's the beginning of the Baal Shem Tov being already a known Baal Shem, or beginning to be known as a Baal Shem, and in that moment he is beginning to use his knowledge of how to use the Shemot, the names of Hashem, and how to, in this case, take a Dybbuk, an attached spirit that was driving this woman literally crazy, and negotiating with him. We'll do a good deal for you. We'll learn Torah and take you out. We should all have a clear mind and live in a positive way, and not be in any way concerned by spirits that need not be here. The Baal Shem Tov has already cleared them out. And we should just merit to see the Shechina lemata mesarat tfachim, what the Rebbe said, that the dwelling presence of Hashem touches this ground, and we should merit to see and experience the Geula that the Rebbe says belongs to already to our time, the redemption and Mashiach, and all the problems and worries go away. A gute Woche, Shavua Tov.